The unwanted bond. The air shimmered with golden light as Nissa stood before the High Council of the Fae. Her hands clenched at her sides, her sharp emerald eyes narrowed in fury. "I refuse," she spat. The Fae nobles watched her in eerie silence, their expressions unreadable. Only Queen Elwyn, her mother, met her gaze with cold disappointment. "You have defied the law of the ancients," Queen Elwyn said, her voice ringing through the grand hall. "The punishment is clear." Nissa's heart pounded. She knew the law well. A Fae of noble blood could not refuse the binding of fate. Yet she had refused. And now, she was paying the price. A low murmur spread through the gathered Fae as Lord Varen stepped forward, a cruel smirk on his lips. "The princess believes she can choose her own path," Varen mused. "Perhaps she should be reminded of what fate truly means." Queen Elwyn lifted a delicate hand. The murmurs stopped. "Nissa of the Alari court," she declared. "You are hereby bound to a mortal husband." The words hit Nissa like a physical blow. Her breath caught in her throat. Immortal? Her fingers twitched toward the dagger at her waist. This was worse than exile. Worse than death. She opened her mouth to protest, but it was too late. Magic surged through the air, weaving around her like unseen chains. The curse had begun. The human husband. Rowan Fletcher had always lived a quiet life. As a history professor in a small university town, the strangest thing he'd ever dealt with was grading late papers. So when a beautiful, furious woman appeared in his living room in a burst of golden light, he did what any reasonable person would do. He screamed. Nissa glared at him. "I should kill you for that." Rowan stumbled backward, grabbing the nearest thing, a coffee mug, as a weapon. Who the hell are you? How did you get in here?" The magic binding them pulsed. Nissa winced as she felt the curse tighten around her heart. "I am your wife, human," she snarled. Rowan blinked. He stared at her, then burst out laughing. "Yeah, okay. Sure. And I'm secretly a millionaire." The magic pulsed again. A searing pain burned through both of them. Rowan clutched his chest, gasping. "What the?" Nissa grit her teeth. "The bond has been sealed." The realization hit her like a cold wave. There was no escaping this now. She was tied to a human. A weak, foolish mortal. And the worst part? She could feel his emotions. Confusion. Fear. Frustration. Rowan's face twisted in pain. "Okay, I don't know what's happening, but if this is some weird prank." Nissa grabbed his collar, dragging him closer. "Listen to me, human. This is not a prank." Rowan gulped. Okay." Nissa exhaled sharply, releasing him. "I did not choose this. You are a burden I do not need." Rowan bristled. "Great. Happy to be here." The bond between them tightened again, as if reacting to their emotions. Nissa cursed under her breath. She had to find a way to break this fast. Before it destroyed them both. A dangerous realization. That night, Nissa tried everything to weaken the bond. She chanted ancient spells. Drew protective sigils. Even attempted to leave town, only for the magic to drag her back like an invisible chain. Rowan, for his part, sat on the couch with a beer, watching her with a mixture of amusement and concern. "So, just to clarify," he said. "You're a Fae princess. And I'm, what? Your forced husband?" Nissa shot him a glare. "Yes. And I hate it as much as you do." Cool. Rowan took a sip. "And there's no divorce?" She narrowed her eyes. "If there were, do you think I would still be here?" Rowan sighed. "Guess that's a no." A heavy silence settled between them. For the first time, Nissa truly looked at him. He wasn't entirely terrible, his dark hair was a bit messy, his blue eyes sharp with intelligence. But he was undeniably human. Fragile. Weak. She needed to be rid of him. And yet. The bond whispered. A deep, unexplainable magic connecting their fates. Nissa clenched her fists. She would break this curse. No matter what it took. Unraveling the curse. Rowan Fletcher never believed in fate. But waking up to a furious Fey princess pacing his apartment, and feeling her emotions echo in his own chest, was enough to make him reconsider. It had been less than 24 hours since Nissa had appeared, declaring herself his unwanted wife, and already, his world was unraveling. But one thing was clear. This so-called bond between them was more than just a forced marriage. It was something darker. Something dangerous. And if they didn't figure out how to break it soon, it might just destroy them both. The search for answers. Nissa was already up when Rowan stumbled out of his bedroom, still groggy from last night's chaos. The moment he entered the living room, she whirled on him. "We're leaving." Rowan blinked. Good morning." "I said, we're leaving." Rowan groaned, rubbing his temples. "And where exactly are we going?" Nissa narrowed her eyes. "To find someone who can fix this." Rowan folded his arms. "Okay, cool. Let me just grab my How to Break a Magical Fey Curse handbook real quick." Nissa scowled. "Do not test me, human." Rowan sighed. "Alright, fine. But can I at least get some coffee first?" Nissa hesitated. The bond between them tightened, as if urging her to consider his needs. Her jaw clenched. "Fine. But make it quick." The seer's warning. The journey to find answers led them to the outskirts of town, to a small, run-down shop wedged between an abandoned bookstore and a pawn shop. Rowan eyed the flickering neon sign above the door. Madame Varies, Seer of the Unseen. He turned to Nissa. "Seriously?" Nissa didn't answer. She simply pushed open the door and stepped inside. A strong scent of incense filled the air. Candles flickered along the shelves, casting eerie shadows. At the center of the shop, an old woman with silver-streaked hair sat behind a table, her milky white eyes staring into nothingness. "Ah," she murmured. "The cursed ones have arrived." Rowan shivered. "Well. That's not creepy at all." Nissa stepped forward. "You know of our bond?" The seer nodded. "It is no ordinary curse, child." Her gaze flickered between them. "The threads of fate have been altered. The magic binding you both was never meant to be broken." Nissa stiffened. "What do you mean?" The seer's expression darkened. "This bond is not just a punishment, but a shield." Rowan frowned. "A shield? Against what?" The seer's voice dropped to a whisper. "Against something far worse than the curse itself." The candles flickered. A chill ran down Rowan's spine. And then, the door slammed open. A figure cloaked in shadows stood at the threshold. And in that moment, Rowan realized their problems were far from over. The first attack. The creature lunged. Rowan barely had time to react before Nissa shoved him aside, drawing a dagger from seemingly nowhere. The blade glowed with ancient magic as she met the attacker head-on. The shadow creature snarled, its elongated claws swiping through the air. Nissa dodged, moving with a grace that Rowan could hardly comprehend. The seer's voice rang through the shop. "You must go. Now." Rowan scrambled to his feet, his heart pounding. "Where?" Nissa slashed at the creature, her blade cutting through its smoky form. "Anywhere but here." The creature screeched, recoiling from the enchanted blade. Nissa seized the opportunity, grabbing Rowan's wrist and pulling him toward the back exit. The moment they stepped outside, the cold night air hit them. Rowan gasped. What the hell was that thing? Nissa didn't answer. She simply tightened her grip on his wrist, her eyes scanning the alleyway. Rowan swallowed. So. I'm guessing that thing wasn't here for a tarot reading. Nissa shot him a look. You think this is a joke? Rowan exhaled. No. Trust me, I'm very aware that I'm in a nightmare right now. Nissa's expression hardened. That was a shade born. A creature of the void. Rowan frowned. And why was it here? Nissa hesitated. Because of the bond. Rowan froze. What? Nissa's jaw tightened. The seer was right. This bond, it's not just about us. It's protecting something. Rowan rubbed his temples. Great. So not only am I magically married to you, but I'm also a walking target for nightmare monsters? Nissa didn't respond. Because deep down, she was starting to realize something terrifying. Rowan wasn't just a target. He was the key. The truth about Rowan. Hours later, they found themselves in a motel on the outskirts of town. Nissa sat on the edge of the bed, sharpening her dagger. Rowan sat across from her, his arms crossed. So, he said. Mind explaining what's really going on? Nissa sighed. I told you. The bond is powerful. Too powerful. Rowan leaned forward. Yeah, but why? What's so special about me? Nissa hesitated. Then, finally, she said, because you're not just human. Rowan blinked. Excuse me? Nissa met his gaze. You think it's a coincidence that you, of all people, were chosen for this bond? The magic recognized something in you. Something hidden. Rowan's stomach twisted. Nope. Nope. I'm just a regular guy, thanks. Nissa smirked. Tell me, Rowan, have you ever experienced strange occurrences in your life? Moments where the impossible seemed possible? Rowan frowned. He thought back to his childhood. The way lights flickered when he was upset. The strange dreams that felt too real. The time he wished for something, and it happened. His pulse quickened. That doesn't mean anything. Nissa's gaze softened. It means everything. Rowan swallowed. So, what am I? Nissa exhaled. That is what we must find out. A heavy silence settled between them. Rowan clenched his fists. Yesterday, he was just a normal guy. Today, he was cursed, hunted, and apparently not human. And somehow, that was only the beginning. The hidden strength within. Rowan Fletcher had spent most of his life believing in logic. Magic? Nonsense. Fey princesses? Absolutely not. Forced mystical bonds tying him to a woman who wanted to stab him? No way. And yet, here he was. Sitting in a dingy motel room with Nissa, a Fey warrior who looked ready to murder something, after being attacked by a creature made of shadows. And the worst part? She was now telling him that he wasn't just human. Rowan ran a hand through his hair. Okay. Let's say, just for a second, that you're right. That I'm not some normal guy. What does that even mean? Nissa exhaled. It means we need to find out what you are before someone else does. Rowan frowned. And by someone else, you mean more nightmare creatures? Nissa's expression darkened. And worse. Unlocking Rowan's potential. Dawn broke over the empty motel parking lot as Nissa stood across from Rowan, arms crossed. We need to push your limits, she said. Rowan groaned. I'm still recovering from nearly being eaten last night. Nissa ignored him. If the bond chose you, it means you have power. We just need to bring it out. Rowan sighed. And how exactly do we do that? A magical glow-up montage? Nissa smirked. Something like that. Then she lunged. Rowan barely had time to react before she swung a dagger toward his face. He stumbled backward, heart racing. What the hell? Nissa didn't stop. She pressed forward, fast as lightning, her blade moving with precision. Rowan dodged the first 2 strikes purely on instinct, but the third clipped his shoulder, sending him sprawling. He hit the pavement with a groan. I'm starting to think you just enjoy stabbing me. Nissa circled him like a predator. I need to see how you react under pressure. Rowan pushed himself up, breathing hard. I react by trying not to die. Not good enough. Nissa feinted left, then spun and kicked his legs out from under him. Rowan hit the ground again. Pain jolted through his back, but something strange flickered at the edge of his awareness. A tingling sensation, like static under his skin. The bond whispered inside him. Something deep and ancient, waiting to be unlocked. Rowan gritted his teeth. Fine. You want pressure? Try this. He moved without thinking. Faster than he should have. One moment, he was on the ground, the next, he had twisted mid-fall, rolling to his feet in a movement so smooth it felt like someone else had done it. Nissa's eyes widened. Rowan barely had time to register her shock before his body acted again, ducking a strike, spinning, moving like he'd been training for years instead of minutes. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. This wasn't normal. Nissa struck again, but this time, Rowan reacted first. He caught her wrist, twisting her arm just enough to throw her off balance. Nissa stumbled back, breathing hard. There it is, she murmured. Rowan released her, his chest heaving. What was that? Nissa smirked. Instinct. Rowan swallowed. I don't have combat instinct. Nissa's gaze flickered. You do now. The prophecy revealed. They drove in tense silence, heading to their next destination, a hidden sanctuary where Nissa believed they could find answers. Rowan, still rattled by what had happened, stared at his hands. What if I don't want this power? Nissa didn't take her eyes off the road. Wanting doesn't matter. It's yours. Rowan exhaled. Great. Love that for me. The sanctuary turned out to be an ancient ruin hidden deep in the mountains. Vines twisted around crumbling stone archways, and a massive circular carving stood at the center, a symbol Rowan didn't recognize. An old Fey elder, Cirrus, greeted them with sharp golden eyes. So, she murmured, staring at Rowan. It's finally happened. Rowan frowned. What? Cirrus placed a hand on the stone carving. It glowed in response, symbols flaring to life. The prophecy, she whispered. Nissa stiffened. You mean? Cirrus nodded. He is the one. Rowan groaned. Okay. Nope. I refuse to be a chosen one. That's always bad news. Cirrus chuckled. And yet, here you are. Rowan rubbed his face. All right, fine. What does this prophecy actually say? Cirrus traced the symbols. A mortal marked by fate, bound to the Fae, shall awaken the power lost to time. He shall be both shield and sword, and his choice shall determine the fate of realms. Rowan's stomach dropped. That's vague. Cirrus smiled. All prophecies are. Nissa crossed her arms. What kind of power does he have? Cirrus studied Rowan for a long moment. Then she said, the kind that even the Fae fear. Rowan took a step back. Nope. Absolutely not. Nissa's expression was unreadable. Cirrus turned to her. And you, Nissa. You were bound to him not as punishment, but as a safeguard. Nissa's breath caught. What? Sirius nodded. You are the only one who can keep his power from consuming him. Without you, he will become something else. A heavy silence followed. Rowan swallowed. Define something else. Sirius hesitated. A force of destruction. Rowan's pulse pounded. Oh. Cool. Love that. Nissa looked at him, something unreadable in her gaze. Rowan met her eyes. For the first time, he understood. They weren't just stuck together by magic. They were stuck together by fate. And fate was far more dangerous. A choice that cannot be undone. That night, Rowan sat outside the ruins, staring at the stars. Nissa sat beside him, silent for a long time. Then she said, "You're handling this better than I expected." Rowan snorted. "Oh, trust me." Internally, I am screaming. Nissa smirked. Then she turned serious. Sirius was right. Rowan exhaled. About what? Nissa hesitated. You're not just some human caught in Fey affairs. You're important. Rowan ran a hand through his hair. Yeah, well. I was happy just being a guy who liked history and bad coffee. Nissa studied him. You still have a choice, Rowan. He looked at her. Did he? Because from where he was standing, it felt like fate had already decided. And it wasn't letting him go. The battle for freedom. Rowan Fletcher had never considered himself a warrior. Yet, in just a few days, he had been attacked by shadow creatures, learned he was bound by magic to a Fey princess, and been told he possessed a power so great it could alter the fate of entire realms. Oh, and apparently, if he lost control, he might turn into something terrible. No pressure. Now, sitting in the ruins of an ancient sanctuary, staring at Nissa as she sharpened her dagger with practiced ease, Rowan knew one thing for sure. If they wanted to break free of this fate, they had to fight for it. And that fight started now. A warning too late. The ruins were eerily quiet. The sky above was dark, clouds swirling unnaturally. Rowan shifted uneasily, glancing at Nissa. I don't like this. She nodded. Neither do I. Sirius had told them that Rowan's power was a force even the Fae feared. That was not comforting. What was worse? The fact that Nissa's role in all of this was not to protect him, but to keep him contained. Rowan clenched his fists. If I have this supposed power, shouldn't I be able to use it? Nissa glanced at him. Power isn't just about having it. It's about controlling it. Rowan sighed. And what if I can't? Nissa hesitated. Then the Fae will see you as a threat. Rowan swallowed. And what do they do with threats? Nissa didn't answer. The silence was enough. Before Rowan could respond, a gust of wind swept through the ruins, carrying a whisper that made his skin crawl. Then Sirius appeared, urgency in her golden eyes. They've found you. Rowan's heart pounded. Who? Sirius turned to Nissa. Your people. Rowan froze. Wait, you mean your people want me dead? Nissa stiffened. I was hoping we had more time. A cold chill spread through Rowan's chest. Time was up. The Fae elite arrive. The air shimmered. A group of Fae warriors stepped from the shadows, 6 in total, their silver armor gleaming under the moonlight. At their center stood a figure more imposing than the rest, Lord Valen, a high-ranking Fae general. Valen's gaze locked onto Nissa. You were ordered to bring him in. Nissa's grip on her dagger tightened. That was before I learned the truth. Valen's expression darkened. And now? Nissa stepped in front of Rowan. Now, I won't let you take him. Rowan's breath caught. She was protecting him? Valen sighed, as if disappointed. I had hoped you would not force my hand. He raised a palm. Seize them. The warriors lunged. Nissa moved like lightning, her blade flashing in the darkness. The first Fae to reach her barely had time to react before she struck, her dagger slicing across his armor. Rowan, meanwhile, did what he did best, panicked. He ducked as another Fae swung at him, narrowly avoiding a strike aimed at his ribs. He scrambled backward, his mind screaming for a way out. Then, a pulse of energy surged inside him. Rowan gasped as his vision shifted. Suddenly, he could see the movements of his attackers, each step, each strike, like a pattern unfolding before him. His body moved on its own. He dodged a second strike, then countered, grabbing his attacker's arm and twisting, sending the Fae crashing into the ground. Rowan stared at his hands. That wasn't luck. That was instinct. Nissa spared him a glance. Good. Keep moving. Rowan barely had time to process her words before another Fae warrior rushed him. He reacted without thinking, sidestepping the attack in. His hand crackled with energy. A pulse of force exploded outward, sending his attacker flying. Rowan's breath hitched. What the hell? Valen's gaze snapped toward him. So it's true. Rowan turned to Nissa. A little help? Nissa met his eyes. Trust yourself. Rowan swallowed. He had no idea what he was doing. But right now? He had no choice but to fight. The turning point. The battle raged around them. Nissa fought like a warrior born, her blade cutting through the enemy ranks with precision. Rowan, meanwhile, relied on pure instinct. Every time he dodged, every time he moved, the bond between him and Nissa pulsed, guiding him, pushing him toward something greater. Then, Valen stepped forward. He didn't draw a weapon. He simply raised a hand, and a pulse of magic slammed into Rowan's chest. Rowan gasped as pain lanced through him, his knees hitting the ground. Nissa turned, fury in her eyes. Get away from him. Valen barely glanced at her. You do not understand what you're protecting, Nissa. Nissa tightened her grip on her dagger. I understand enough. Rowan struggled to stand, his vision blurring. He could feel something inside him stirring, desperate to be let out. Valen watched him closely. If you do not come willingly, we will take you by force. Rowan exhaled shakily. Yeah, that's gonna be a hard pass. Valen sighed. Then you leave me no choice. He lifted his hand, magic gathering at his fingertips. Nissa moved to intercept. But she was too far. Rowan saw it happen in slow motion. Valen's spell, aimed directly at him. Rowan knew he couldn't dodge in time. And then, something snapped. A pulse of raw energy erupted from his body, cracking the ground beneath him. Valen's attack shattered in midair. The Fae general took a step back, his expression unreadable. So, he murmured. The awakening has begun. Rowan, breathing hard, felt something different inside him. A power that had always been there, now unlocked. Valen studied him for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he stepped back. This is not over, he said. Then, he and his warriors vanished into the shadows. Rowan, still shaking, turned to Nissa. What just happened to me? Nissa's eyes held something new. Not just wariness. But fear. A truth neither of them were ready for. They left the ruins, traveling under the cover of night. The air was heavy with unspoken words. Finally, Rowan broke the silence. That wasn't normal. What happened to me back there? Nissa hesitated. Your power is waking up. Rowan frowned. Yeah, great. But what is it? Nissa exhaled. I don't know. Rowan studied her. You're lying. Nissa met his gaze. I suspect the truth. But I need to be sure. Rowan ran a hand through his hair. Okay. So what's next? Nissa hesitated. Then she said, we find the one person who might have the answers. Rowan raised an eyebrow. And who's that? Nissa's expression darkened. The one who cursed me in the first place. Rowan blinked. Oh. Great. Love that. He exhaled. This was only getting worse. The Cursebreaker's price. Rowan Fletcher had thought things couldn't get any worse. Then he learned that the only person who might have answers was the one who had cursed Nissa in the first place. A Fae who, by all accounts, was far more dangerous than Lord Valen. So, of course, Nissa's brilliant plan was to find them. Rowan exhaled, watching as Nissa traced a glowing sigil onto the ground. You sure about this? Nissa didn't look up. No. But we don't have a choice. Rowan rubbed his temples. Right. No choice. Love that. The air shimmered as the sigil flared to life. Then. A voice echoed through the night. So, you finally come crawling back, little princess. Rowan's stomach dropped. This was already a mistake. The Cursebreaker revealed. The space around them shifted. One moment, they were in the dense forest. The next, they stood in a vast chamber carved from obsidian stone. Shadows flickered across the walls, and at the far end sat a throne made of twisting branches and bone. And on that throne sat Irian. They were Fae, but unlike Nissa or Valen, their presence felt ancient. Their silver hair cascaded over dark robes, their violet eyes gleaming with amusement. Nissa tensed. Irian. Irian smirked. Ah, I do love when you say my name with such venom. They tilted their head, gaze sliding to Rowan. And this must be the human you're so desperate to save. Rowan forced a smile. Hey. So, fun story. I just found out I might be some kind of magical apocalypse waiting to happen. Any chance you'd be willing to help us avoid that? Irian chuckled. Oh, I like him. Nissa stepped forward. We need answers. Irian sighed dramatically. You always do. They leaned back. But I assume you came here for more than just my charming company. What is it you seek? Nissa's grip on her dagger tightened. You cursed me. You bound me to him. Why? Irian's smirk widened. Ah. So you finally figured it out. Rowan's pulse pounded. Figured what out? Irian stood, stepping toward them. Your bond was not meant to imprison her. They glanced at Nissa. It was meant to imprison you. Rowan's breath caught. Nissa stiffened. What? Irian chuckled. Oh, little princess. Did you really think your punishment was about you? No, no. You were simply convenient. Rowan clenched his fists. Why? Why am I so dangerous? Irian's gaze darkened. Because you were never meant to exist. The air in the chamber grew heavy. Rowan swallowed. That's vague. Irian smirked. You are a remnant of something long buried. A power that should have died with the old world. And yet, they gestured to him. Here you stand. Nissa's voice was tight. Then how do we stop it? Irian studied her. You don't. Nissa's grip on her dagger tightened. That's not an option. Irian sighed. There is one way. They stepped closer, their violet eyes gleaming. A price must be paid. Rowan exhaled sharply. Yeah, I knew there was a catch. Irian smiled. Smart boy. Nissa squared her shoulders. What's the price? Irian met her gaze. You. Rowan tensed. What? Irian tilted their head. The bond that keeps him from unraveling is you, little princess. Sever it, and the magic that holds him stable will be undone. Nissa's expression didn't change. And what happens to him? Irian smirked. He will become what he was always meant to be. Rowan's stomach twisted. Which is? Irian's smile widened. A god of destruction. Silence fell. Rowan's hands shook. No. That's not me. Irian shrugged. Then prove it. Nissa's voice was cold. What do you get out of this? Irian chuckled. Entertainment. Nissa exhaled. Then she said, what if I refuse? Irian's eyes gleamed. Then you better pray you can control him before the others come for his head. Rowan's pulse pounded. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was about who he would become. And whether or not he had a choice. A decision made in blood. They left Irian's domain in silence. The forest was dark, the air heavy with tension. Rowan finally broke the silence. You're not seriously considering it, are you? Nissa didn't answer. Rowan swallowed. Nissa. She exhaled. I don't know. Rowan ran a hand through his hair. Look, I don't want to be some ticking time bomb. But if you cut the bond and I lose myself, what then? Nissa clenched her fists. I would stop you. Rowan's throat tightened. Right. By killing me. Nissa flinched. Rowan exhaled. Look. I don't know what's happening to me. But I do know one thing. Nissa looked at him. Rowan held her gaze. I trust you. Nissa's breath caught. For the first time, the walls she had built around herself cracked. Before she could respond, a sharp howl echoed through the trees. Nissa tensed. They found us. Rowan's heart pounded. Who? Nissa drew her blade. The ones who want you dead. Rowan exhaled. Fantastic. The trees shook. Then. A wave of shadow erupted from the forest. Rowan barely had time to react before the ground beneath him cracked, darkness surging forward. And the battle began. The final stand begins. Rowan fought on instinct. Energy crackled beneath his skin, power surging with every strike. Nissa moved beside him, fast and deadly. They fought as one, each movement in sync, the bond between them pulsing like a heartbeat. But for every enemy they struck down, more emerged from the shadows. Rowan gritted his teeth. There's too many. Nissa's expression was grim. Then we make our stand here. Rowan exhaled. You got a plan? Nissa glanced at him. Do you trust me? Rowan didn't hesitate. Yes. Nissa's eyes softened. Then. She raised her blade. A pulse of magic erupted from her, locking their bond into place. Rowan felt it, power flowing through him, steadying the chaos inside. For the first time. He wasn't afraid. Rowan met Nissa's gaze. Let's end this. She nodded. Together. And as the shadows closed in, they stood side by side. Ready to fight for their fate.